thank you for your question, Kevin, and I can understand, you know, there's obviously a sense of passion as you ask it, and I can understand that passion. I mean, I first got involved in raising my voice publicly about anything, protesting about university cutbacks way back when under Malcolm Fraser's government. So, you know, I do know that people get passionate about this this question. Probably some young people in the audience now are looking at each other trying to remember how long ago that was. What we've done. What we've done here is we've needed to work through in an environment where we've got a lot less tax money coming into the federal government than used to come in, and that's an overhang of the global financial crisis, and that conditions have been a bit tough for business because of that and the high Australian dollar. There's less tax money coming in than there used to be. So every time you take a decision to spend some money, no matter how wise the spend, you've also got to look for savings elsewhere in the budget, responsible savings. We need to look for those savings to put some more money into our schools for our kids, because so many schools at the moment are below the resources necessary to get kids a great education. When we looked around, what we saw was that in universities, we've increased funding by more than 50% since we came to government. There's 190,000 more people who will go to university because of our reforms. Even with all of that growth in numbers, money is still going up per student place. And so what we're asking universities to do is to not take a cut in the sense that they'll get less dollars next year than they've had this year. What we're saying is your funding's been growing like that. What we want to do is moderate that growth rate. So 1 year there will be a 2% efficiency dividend. The next year a 1.25% efficiency dividend. Funding will still go up. It just won't go up as sharply. And we think that that's a fair contribution to making a real difference to what's happening in schools. For the future, I want more kids to go to uni. I want more kids to have apprenticeships. We'll still be growing university places. Universities will still be quality places to go. We'll keep investing to see more apprenticeships, but we are asking universities to make this contribution now. Now, I understand it's a tough decision. If I was a Vice-Chancellor, I'd be complaining about it, but I've got to make the decisions looking at everything that's going on as to what's the highest priority and the best thing to do, and that's the answer we've come up with.
Thank you very much. Let's get to our next question.
Good evening, Prime Minister. My name is Michael. I'm an in-house counsel. My question, Prime Minister, relates to the recent announcement that the government won't be able to meet its budget surplus. My question is thus, when does the government expect to attain a budget surplus, and how it will go about attaining that?
We've got the budget coming up in May, so it's being worked on now and worked on hard by Wayne Swan and Penny Wong, the team that does our economic work for us. So I'm not in a position to unveil the May budget tonight. What I can say to you is we are working so that when we do say that there are new areas of spending, that we find savings on the budget to match that spending. So, you know, on the spending side of the budget, there's been a lot of restraint, and there will be a lot of restraint for the future. And it is pretty tough when, you know, you've got a big new proposal like funding schools, you know, better, and we've got to look to other areas of the budget to take savings to make that happen. But that's what we're doing. So if we're doing all of that, you might be asking yourself the question, well, how come the budget isn't just coming back to surplus? The problem with that isn't on the spending side, because we're taking a very tough approach to spending. It's on the money into government side. Government doesn't have its own money. We get it either because you pay tax going to work in your pay packet, or because businesses pay tax, or because tax money per unit of economic activity in our economy, less tax money for each unit of GDP than any time since the early 1990s. So that's the result. The global financial crisis, impact on business, high Aussie dollar, impact on business, they're less profitable, they're paying less tax. Things have been increasing in value, less capital gains tax. That's what's hitting our budget side of the money coming in. So when you hear Wayne Swan talking about, a sledgehammer hitting the revenue, that's what he's referring to. When you've got that kind of problem with the amount of money coming in, you can do one of two things. You can say, well, we'll keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting on the expenditure side, which would really hurt people. Or you can take the approach that we're taking and say, well, the revenue coming in will recover over time. The important thing now is to match any new spending with savings. We've got to keep our economy strong. Cutting and cutting and cutting wouldn't help our economy stay strong. It would hurt people. So we're going to work so the budget recovers, keep the restraint on the spending side, and you'll see all of the outcomes of that on budget night when all of the figures are produced.
Income tax in a couple of years might drop off as well, and you're still guaranteeing all the compensation for that.
I'm going to have a little smile at the question in this sense that, I've had to for years and years and years, well, it feels like years and years, but a few years, go to forums where people have said to me, the mining tax is so big, it's going to kill mining. And now everybody goes, it's too small. And, the carbon tax is so big, it's going to kill the economy. And now everybody says, it's too small. Just goes to show a lot of the fear campaign about mining and about carbon wasn't right. What we've done with the revenue side and the expenditure side, they're factored into the budget bottom lines. We're factoring in the reductions in what we're getting from mining, and we'll have to update forecasts at budget time about what we're going to get in through carbon pricing. We do that, and we also look at the spending side responsibly. We knew when we created the mining tax that it would go up or down depending with the profitability of mining. That's what it's designed to do.
So you will look at the spending associated with the carbon tax responsibly?
You'll see all of the household assistance that's being delivered now staying, absolutely.
Why?
We said to people they'd get that assistance. The carbon price that's in place now means people should get that assistance and they'll continue to get it.
Even if it's a much lower tax?
We said they'd have it and they'll certainly have it.
Let's get our next question.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name's Troy. I work in IT, so my question is about the NBN. There's rumours about cost blowout and delay in deployment of the network. How are you going to reassure people on the vitality of such a large investment into public infrastructure? And also, a lot of people don't understand the benefits of a high-speed broadband. How are you going to encourage them to adopt and understand the new network?
Thanks, Troy. Well, hopefully on the benefits of your work in IT, you might be able to do some of that explanation for us. With the National Broadband Network, it's a big investment. There's no doubt about it. It's a big investment, but it's the kind of big investment that only government can do and do properly. Because what you are building, just like years and years ago, we built the copper telephone wire network, you're building something broadband from many retail companies, but they'll all be using the same network, the same backbone, just the same way that you can get your telephone services from various telephone companies, but for the landline services, they're all using the same copper wire. In terms of the costs for the NBN, they are, what we predicted they would be. With the rollout, there's been some delays getting the clicked on an NBN co, make sure that that's happening, and you've probably heard some of that publicly. Where does it take us to? Well, it takes us to where there will be fibre to your home, to your business, around the country, more than 90% of premises getting the benefits of the fibre. That is the quickest broadband you can get. There are alternatives. The opposition's put one forward where you only take the fibre so far, you put it in an ugly cupboard that would be on the street, and then it connects into the copper network. That's the same as a huge highway then suddenly stopping and a tiny suburban street is supposed to take all of the traffic. It would just choke things up. It's only the fibre into the home that will give people the speeds they want and need in this modern age. What can you do with it? Well, you can create the jobs of the future, the jobs other countries with broadband are creating. You can better provide health and education services. And I've seen with my own eyes things like a dermatologist who is in one part of the country diagnosing a rash on a woman's leg when she is thousands of kilometres away because he can see it well enough